Hi, I'm Lucas Mack. I'm a former TV reporter, a published author, TEDx speaker, musician, advertising agency owner, and management consultant. I'm also a former Christian preacher who dedicated 15 years of my life searching for truth and love. I've done a lot of work to heal, and I'm on a mission to see the hurting get healed and the healed go out and heal others, in order for all of us to experience the true love and light we desire. This podcast is me sharing my journey with you, so you don't feel alone in your journey. Welcome to the Golden Rule Revolution. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Golden Rule Revolution. I am Lucas Mack, and I'm so honored to have you join. Today is part 2 of a conversation. Actually, it's not part 2. It's just the second conversation that Chris O'Brien from Come Out Better on Instagram and I had. And Chris is brilliant. This conversation was amazing. I learned a lot, and it was interesting. We recorded this last week, and I felt like my energy that whole day was it was off. I don't know what was going on, but I felt just truly depleted and exhausted. And it was so great because I was able to just listen to the wisdom that he brought to the conversation. And it was amazing. You guys are really going to enjoy this conversation today. Brothers and sisters, welcome to the great awakening, the great spiritual awakening, the great shift, the great ascension, and the greatest opportunity for you to live in alignment to who you truly are. Blessings to you all, and enjoy this episode. So, my brother Chris, as I just told you, first of all, I've had a lot of feedback. People have loved our episode together, and so thank you for coming on. And then you've inspired me. I've peed more since we talked because of the amount of water I've been drinking, and I feel better. And one of the questions that my wife said, make sure you ask, is what is your daily consumption? I know you talked about fasting, but like if you're going to eat, the days you eat, what are you eating and what are you consuming?
Yeah. Well, today, whole lot different than it was my whole life. Whole lot different than it was 2 years ago. Probably even a whole lot different than it was maybe at the beginning of this year. For me, it's a tier process. I think a lot of people try to jump in the deep end and they don't have floaties and they don't know how to swim. And now they're drowning and they assume that the pool's fault instead of lack of their preparation. So what's become of my journey, changing my diet to a plant-based diet 2 years ago was an awakening in itself, with learning about Dr. Sebi and its phases. I started with just, Meatless Monday and then all these other things. But fast forward to 2020, just when you cleanse the body, and I'm such a proponent of Arnold Ehret. If you've never heard of him, look him up. Arnold Ehret talks about the body is tubes and piping and canals filled with liquid, whether it's a plasma, blood, or water. And then everything else is just floating in it, right? So it's like those tubes in Super Mario, right? Those green tubes, that's all we are. So what happens is diets for me are difficult to change because the tubes haven't been cleaned. So you don't clean the tube, just like, you keep clogging your drain, you keep pouring down Drano, you keep pouring it down, but all some guy has to do is open up the pipe and take out that blockage. Now it flows. And so here I'm at today, my lifestyle, gosh, it's crazy to even say it, but from the amount of activity I'm doing, the amount of brain work I'm doing, and also physical activity, being a trainer for the last 4 years, I wake up, I don't really eat until nighttime. Anything I have before noon is either water, like herbs, herbal teas, fruit, if I'm having fruit that morning, beet juice. I love beet juice. I'll have, honestly, that's about it as of now. And then lunchtime, quote unquote lunchtime, big on the circadian rhythm and things like that. Lunchtime is either a loaded smoothie, so with chlorella, spirulina, wheatgrass, power shake, 24 servings of fruits and veggies, hemp seeds, chia seeds, avocado, spinach, almond milk, and kangen. That's like a meal in itself, or I'm having a giant raw salad. Nighttime is when I enjoy my cooked meals, quinoa, pastas, baked potatoes, any kind of vegan takeout I enjoy. But probably 80% of the time it's living food, raw as possible. And my whole thing is a proponent of putting food in your body that contains water and contains electrons. Two things you'll probably won't hear unless you really start to dig. But when I look at it as my body is not just a skin suit with meat and bones, but an energetic system with a nervous system with frequency and vibration and voltage, why not put the same things that I'm made of, right? Instead of going outside of the bin. So that's where I'm at today. I intermittent fast here and there, but as long as it's of a range of colors, a range of life, living as much as I possibly can, full of water if possible, full of minerals, enzymes, all these things that we hear protein, carbs, and fats. That's just what got me stuck. That literally clogged my pipes. So I flushed it all out, and now people ask me, how do you go without eating? Like I'll just go a day or two, or I'll go 10 hours straight, and it's just, well, there's nothing getting clogged. So the energy is flowing. Sometimes we eat to move energy, but then that gets clogged. So that's just like a talk in itself, but that's kind of where I'm at today. Just liquids, fruits, herbs, and then salads, raw, smoothies. And then at night is when I enjoy either like Jilly and I go out to dinner or a cooked meal. She's pretty much 95% raw. Like she's on a whole nother level. She just eats oranges, avocados, and green shakes all day. And you're like, how are you functioning? But the stuff she taps into, it's pretty powerful when that vessel's pretty clean. So that's kind of where I'm at with today's lifestyle.
No, it's incredibly inspiring. And a couple of things that stood out from our last conversation together was the chakra system, and then the colors of food blew me away.
I got these in them Shasta just for you, right?
That was so good. Yeah, I mean, that was like the chakra system, the acidic to alkaline correlation. I mean, everything. I loved our conversation, brother. I just, gosh, man, it's.
I told you about the heart and the earth connection, right?
Yes, and the
neutral space.
Yes,
green, and then you take the H, put at the end. You got earth. The Schumann resonance is 7.83, similar to 7.35 of our blood. All the minerals in our body are in the ocean. It's everywhere. Everything's connected.
It's amazing. Okay, I don't want to lose. So I want to talk. Speaking of Schumann, can you explain the Schumann resonance? And then later, let's talk, because Schumann resonance got taken down today on Twitter.
Did it? The Schumann bot?
Yeah.
Wow.
I got censored today. It's just obscene what's happening to information.
Wow.
But can you explain what the Schumann resonance is for people?
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It is definitely a new term. I mean, most people, I didn't even know how to spell it when I first heard it. So usually when we don't know how to spell it, it's kind of like, it's too clacky or too scientific for me. But it's not. It really is simple. So the way I explain it is energy that comes in, right? There's energy that comes in, and then the energy that's being put out by Earth, right? And we kind of meet in the middle. I always say we're those receivers of energy coming in from source, right? Our central sun, we have multiple suns and multiple stars. Red pill right there for you guys. And then you also are going to have energy from Mother Earth. That's why we go ground. That's why we connect in nature. And then they meet. And they meet at that 0 point. And so where is that 0 point? Back to your heart, right? So a lot of people right now, they're going through, those ascension symptoms, but the Schumann resonance is energy that's coming in, and they measure it with hertz. And that's the amount, don't quote me on this, but the frequency is the amount of wavelengths per cycle. I want to think that's correct. But what happens is our typical Schumann resonance, like I said, is 7.83 hertz, right? So that's when we're pretty much grounded, right? You can get like an orgone generator. You can like simulate pretty much the same thing. Orgone pyramids, all those different orgone itself. Basically, when that changes, let's say it starts jumping, right? Once you start getting into the 40 hertz to 100 hertz, you're in that almost the gamma phase. And that's where people are waking up and they have no idea they're waking up. So even connecting it to like the Q stuff, it's interesting because regardless of what you think is going on, there's zoom out even farther. Whatever you think's going on there, zoom out again until you're literally in the grand central sun. The whole planet is vibrating higher. So whatever fears you have, it can't actually manifest anymore because this stuff is playing out. So as the Schumann resonance, spikes one day, we wake up and we feel heavy. Or we wake up and we're like, I don't want to do anything today. Or we wake up and our back is sore. Yeah. Or we wake up and we have a headache. And you're like, I take care of myself. I do all these things. And we have to just become aware of energy coming in, energy going out. And if we're not aware of it, that can snowball thinking something's wrong with us. And that's where a lot of the ascension things get confused with, symptoms of illness or symptoms of ascension But when that Schumann resonance fluctuates, I kind of have a feeling now, like if a lot of people, if you're going, when you really identify how it flows and works, I stay away from certain meetings, from certain calls when the Schumann resonance is out a little bit stronger, because that person I'm connecting with or the audience of the message I want to share, they might not hear it because they're going through their own recalibration. So a lot of successful people use this Schumann resonance to actually create deals, start businesses, make executive decisions, global decisions. And this is all stuff people are becoming aware of, but it's energy that's coming in. If it changes and fluctuates, sometimes you just got to ride that wave, really take care of yourself, drink more water, ground, breathe, basics, so basic that you don't think it can help you. And that's going to help you integrate. And once it kind of resettles, like the wave recedes, now your dots start to connect. That's the integration. That's the integration phase. So it's like waves. It hits and then it pulls back. It hits and then it pulls back based on that collective consciousness of where everyone is at in their life. Right? There's no mistakes that the universe makes. So it's pretty amazing. It's like a little, it's like it's just splashing water in your face. Right. Splash another little bit of water. All right, I'm going to give a bigger glass of water and then a gallon. And next thing you know, hey, there's a 10-foot swell coming in. Right. And it's like, and that's where you see a lot of these, you'll see these awakenings, you'll see these arrests, you'll see these fires, you'll see all these things globally. Yeah. Look at the Schumann, connect it, it's all aligned. It's pretty wild how it all manifests according to everything happening in the stars, in the universe, and everything bigger picture, and then boom, zoom in, and here we are. So there you go. That's my lens on the Schumann resonance of what is going on.
I love it. And I love that. That was a big takeaway for people when you said zoom out and keep zooming out and keep zooming out, because perspective, is everything. And the Schumann resonance also, for people listening, they track 5D. If you've heard me talk about 5D, the white color is 5D. It's coming in and clearing out. And the green color is 3D, getting purged off the earth. And then there's red aligning to the 3D. It's just the color, everything from color, light, energy, which brings me to something you said earlier, which I had not thought about till you mentioned. It's never resonated with me when someone says meat, we're just a skin suit or a meat suit. I've said it, and what we're all saying is we have a soul. We're more than the body. But I love how you're saying it is we're all one glorious divine. Yes, this body is temporal, but it's also glorious. It's also,
think of it this way. Source has 7.7 million fingers. Each one of us are just a finger on its hand, creating, right? So here's your finger, right? What question I ask people is, hey, guys, in this time you've been watching this for about 10 minutes, how many times is your heart beat? How many times have you taken breaths? How many times has your colon palpitated? How many cells have died and replicated? You can't consciously keep track. So my question is, who's doing it? Who's in control? Who really is? Who's making sure that all your organs are resetting and detoxing at 11 p.m. when you're asleep? What's going on, right? You can't consciously keep track. So if you trace that finger, go to the palm, go to the hand, you go back to source, we're just extensions of everything that is, right? We just have different skin color. One interesting thing that I came across a few months ago is that all of us are pretty much 99.9% the same, except skin color, hair color, and eye color. Because you'll hear people go, what about blood type? And what about gene mutation? And certain, not everyone can eat the same. Well, that wasn't on accident. We actually manifested it when we started tampering with nature. When we started, putting stuff in the water, when we started messing with the food, when we start polluting the air and EMFs, that starts distorting our actual vehicle, right? Our finger starts to now bend. It starts to get a little cracked nail. We start to get a cut. We jam our finger. We think something's wrong with our finger. It was never anything wrong. We're perfect by design. If anything, we're the exact same. And when you can collectively come together, just like, let's say, the pyramids, if you have however many people coming and surrounding this area, they can mind telepathically together with one thought, lift a piece of brick on top of another. And it's so far-fetched, but it's like, okay, can you lift a 10-pound weight with this? No, what about with this? This, what about with this? Yeah. That's the same thing. That's the collective consciousness, right? The hands, the creator. But that's why we have hands. We're an extension of the hand that we actually are. And that's pretty cool.
It's so awesome. So awesome. Um, that's why I did this podcast, that we actually have six senses. We've always had six senses. Man, the number in Bible is six is the number of man. Man was made on the sixth day. Sixth book of the Old Testament is Joshua, the first book named after man. The sixth book in the New Testament is Romans. First word with man in it. There's 6 letters in Joshua, 6 letters in Romans. There's 66 books in the Bible. All these things, 6 is the number of man. And man has 6 senses. But the system tells us we only have 5 senses. And that 6th sense is what you're talking about, the knowing, the telepathic, the conscious awareness, our true power lies in that 6th sense. And then Rome, because Rome doesn't like sovereign beings. Rome wants to be sovereign over all beings. When people started tapping into that, they called them heretics, witches, warlocks, kill them, drive them from society. But now with the awakening, which you're talking about, it's like there's so many people with water splashed on themselves, waking up to like, whoa, what is this knowing that I have, this feeling, the energy that it's no longer contained. You can't gaslight us any longer as humanity. We know. Now you have to listen to what we know, not we listen to what you know. To Rome, to the Roman system.
Yeah.
So that's really beautiful. Yeah, it's a great analogy that, this can't pick 10 pounds. This can pick 10 pounds.
That's the collective. So we're holding the earth in our hands. But it's like I could visualize enough, and there's whatever you think the globe looks like, or whatever shape or size, it doesn't even matter. Because at the end of the day, that's your truth until the collective agrees on something, right? For now, that's what the collective agrees on. Right. So it's like the intuition, that's another one, trusting our gut feelings, clairvoyance, clairsentience. I think we have over 20 senses. I think when our DNA keeps continuing to get turned on, because the gamma radiation that's coming in from the Schumann is in fact the light that is actually turning on. And here's another thing too, that's why water is so important, because water refracts in light. Right? Our eyes are 95% water. So basic science, if you get like a prism, a glass of water, and you get a light pyramid, you're going to project out those colors. The whole thing we see, we're just seeing a light spectrum. The only difference is the human body sees 1% of the light spectrum. That 1% of the light spectrum is those 5 senses. Taste, smell, touch, smell, all those. What about the other 99% of the light spectrum? How do we see that, quote unquote, the word see? That's why the ocean is so big and vast. It's the deep blue sea, because it's so big you can't see it all, but you can because it's all within you. So as we see more and more and more, that's beyond the 5 senses, we can begin to know and comprehend, which change our beliefs patterns, which change manifestation. And now things appear more crystal clear, crystals, very clear than ever. And it's just all part of this word magic that certain words trigger, certain words confuse. Even something as simple as witch. People go, Halloween. Well, is that bad or good? I don't know. Right. So witches are bad, witches are good. And we're constantly writing stories about the things that are coming in, instead of creating our own story and then imprinting that on the collective. That's taking your power back. And when we do that, those 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all these senses that don't even have names, because we made up names and words from the vibration of sound. Right. That's what you make of it. Infinite potential. And that's what they don't want us to wake up to, but it's already happened. It's already done. It's already done.
Right. It's done.
It's done.
One of the things I encourage people when I, especially my employees, when we're going into meetings, I said, it's already happened. Whatever this meeting, it's already happened. We just have to walk through it. And it's always helped me with that thinking, like, this has already happened. I just have to walk through it. So let go of trying to control the outcome. It's already happened. All this time that what you think is unfolding has already happened. We've already woken up. Like the book of Ra says that our higher self resides in the 6th density, the 6th dimension, which is wisdom of what to do with light and love, body, spirit, and mind. So, well, we've already gone there. We're just coming back to ascend more or lift the earth, or it's this time facade. People get caught up in it so often. The election, 4 year. People are waiting right now for November 3rd.
Yes.
November 3rd's already happened. The results have already happened. We just have to walk it out.
Yep.
2021, 2022 has already happened. We just have to walk it out. And free will, I don't know. Where do you think free will fits in with this predeterministic happening?
Yeah, that is a great question, because our whole life we've been told what to do instead of what do you want to do. And it's like when you give someone that open-ended question, it's like we have fear of asking, because what they want to do might not be what they truly are. It's what the subconscious has believed to be true, right? So those first 7 years of your life, school, for example, literally programming kids that the only way they can be heard is raising their hand. And then the only way they can be heard is if someone actually calls on them. And the only way they can be seen is if they answer or say the right thing without getting laughed at by their peers. So like school in itself, the way things are being taught are taking people's power. So that free will of expressing your gifts, where a kid loves to paint, but because of curriculum, he has to go to science class all year. Right. No wonder why he flunks out, because inside of him, Source is trying to express his genetics, gene expression, literally the expression of our genetics in our reality through water in our eyes refracted by light. They can't express it. And so they get compressed and they get suppressed. And then it builds up in anxiety and stress. And then the free will becomes obsolete. And, especially in America, we're such a nation of consumerism, taking more money, food, entertainment, alcohol, drugs, sex, celebrities, pop culture, fitting, trends, clothing. It just keeps going, and then those that are outside of that, they're the weird ones. But in a way, it's like looking in, it's such a contrast of things. So the free will premise, money is a huge one that keeps people from free will, greed, hate, and what was the last one? Fear, greed, and hate. Yeah, those three really keep people from expressing their true gifts. Energy, they're energetic emotions. So when we have that inside of us, we start clogging our vessel. We start getting stagnant. Our water doesn't flow. Our free will, like what you will do, like our will becomes obsolete. We don't even know we have it. We don't even know we could take our power back. We had no idea that it's even possible, because we're limited to those five senses. We're limited to what the person on TV told us, or what our mom and dad thought was to be true. And like you said, it's such a short period of time. Like this is a blink of the eye compared to how long this planet's been. And look at the craziness that, like, we're literally, I don't know if we talked about it last time, it's a vacuum. So you have the 8, right? So you have an 8, right? The infinity.
Yep.
So this 0 point right here, right? That's where we're pretty much at in the terms of humanity. Though this kind of dome is kind of a big vacuum, and it's being sucked right into the 0 point. As you suck back into the 0 point, you start time traveling internally. Your cells start to time travel. So you start going back to 5 years ago, last year, last week, when you were a kid, when you were in high school, when you cheated on a test, when you cheated on a girlfriend, when you stole something from the store. Like, where are these memories coming from? I don't even consciously remember this, but I'm having dreams about them. I'm meditating about them. Like, my partner is reflecting something my ex-girlfriend in high school used to tell me when she doesn't even know who she is. So we're getting sucked back in right into that 0 point. And then when we spit back out, that's when we come out of that awakening. But that 0 point is the present moment. People are just literally, consciously or not, free will or not, source what's keeping their heart beating and their oxygen flowing and their cells replicating, saying, all right, man, if you don't want to consciously do this, here we go. It's bumpy, and I'm going to pale you with some Schumann resonance. I'm going to slap you with some frequency here, and we're going to go right back to the 0 point. You're now present moment, because that's all the 0 point is. It's the present moment of our life. We just live chasing the future or dwelling on the past, and that 0 point is when we're allowed to meet ourselves where we're at, realize we're creators, realize we can build and create things, realize we have free will, wake up to our power, and that's when we get to create and spit out that second part of the infinite vacuum. And that's the flow. That's the magnetic energy. That's scalar energy. That's magnetism, right? It's so funny because we learn about electricity, right? We learn about Einstein or Edison. We learn about electrical engineering. What about magnetism? What about magnetic engineering?
Right.
When you think magnets, you think grocery list on the fridge. Magnetism, that's the return of the divine feminine. That's where we're headed. That's Mary Magdalene, right? Magnetism. You want to zoom out even more, detach from politics, MAGA, Make America Great Again. That's just a 3D term. It's magnetism. That's Tesla tech.
And
That's free energy.
to add to it, the Magi that
There you
came
go.
to the Christ child were looking at the stars and that time of, you're right, the pulling and alignment was that time. The MAGA was the Magi is plural for mega.
There you go.
Magnetism. That's good.
So we've had to use that to make America great again, but in reality, it's the introduction of magnetism, bringing things back to you, realizing you're empowered, realizing you have love and free will, realizing you are free energy, and that you can attract what you want in your life because you're a co-creator. Like it's the wave and the fractal reality, right? And I'm looking at you, but to the behind me, I don't know there's blinds.
Yeah.
You do because you see it. I can see it on the screen, but the moment I turn, the blinds appear. The moment I look at you, because you're collectively looking at it through technology, which is an extension of us, this what I'm pointing at, that's my eye, right? I know, right? It's kind of like, but until I actually turn, then they'll form. So who knows, you keep driving around a bend, you don't know what's forming. It's literally happening as you drive until we created technology where we can put a camera there. We basically just took out an eyeball and put it there. That's why it manifests. So technically, we have no idea what's going on outside of what's happening in front of us and inside of us. And that's why it's hard to get to people, because they try to figure everything out by throwing all their eyeballs everywhere. Next thing you know, they lost all their vision. They have their third eye is blocked because they've given it away.
No insight. Insight. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
Insight.
That's good.
That insight.
Yeah, the insight.
You see within. I got a good insight on that. It's like we think we're looking at something. I have insight on what you're talking about. No, it's just you're reading something in you that is a reflection of what you're seeing. That's insight. Yeah. Inception, all that. So good. Word magic.
I love it. And I love, words. I can't remember if we talked about this before, but words matter. One thing I enjoy with you is words really well, or you understand the palpitation of words, the power of words. And as you know, I come from that religious background, but I know it really well. So for instance, the New World Translation, which the Jehovah Witness Bible, in John 1:1. Well, let me use all Bibles but the New World Translation. It says, in the beginning was the Word was with God. So the Word. So we're talking about word, the logos, the ability to utter sound with meaning. In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. That's what it was. That's John 1:1. The New World Translation says, in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was a God. They just added one word, a. Completely changes the entire meaning. Here's another one that I find fascinating.
Wow. Just one letter, A.
One letter changes the entire context. Here's another one. For hundreds of years, the teaching was to emulate Jesus as conscious love and light to the world. Emulation. And John 14:6 in the King James Bible says, I am the way, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me.
Wow.
So by.
Yeah.
As an example, you walk it, I'm walking it, we're all walking it. Every Bible version since 1881, and there's more than 500 of them in the English language, changed the word by to through. So all the new Bible versions say, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but through me.
Through.
Which then I have to subjugate my own sovereignty, abdicate my sovereignty, and subjugate myself to this idolization of another, when even the person's own words never said to. But that changing by to through, adding an a, changing words is literally magic. They are creating a world with their words. They are casting spells and teaching us to spell the way they want to see the world happen. And when people say, well, who's they? Well, you have to go up the tree far enough. And the way I explain it, even as a TV reporter, when I would show up on scene, sometimes I'd be lucky enough to see the results of an incident. I mean, never lucky to see a car accident. That's terrible to say, but at least I'm first person. I could see with my own eyes, this car hit this car. Okay, I can kind of figure it out. But if I'm after the scene and they've cleared it out, now then I have to ask eyewitnesses. And I have to say, well, what did you see? So then they tell me what they saw.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what they told me they saw.
Mm-hmm.
You tell someone else, hey, did you hear about? So now we're 4 people removed. And even the person who saw it first person didn't see the entirety of it. So the words that they're creating are creating a reality that aren't even the truth. And this is why this awakening is so powerful, because we're waking up to tell lies to our vision, tell a vision. I mean, all sorts of things. I mean, you can go on, but the words matter more than anything.
Maybe with I am that. I am that I am. You know, just
Yes.
even the I am affirmation is triggering for
Yes.
people.
Oh.
It's like, go ahead.
You cracked me up because I was playing I am becoming who I am, and I love that you said I am that I am, and that is the truth. I am that I am.
Because if you associate, remember, who's running your heartbeat? I go back to that again. So this plant, how is this plant growing? There's cells in the plant. There's chlorophyll. There's similar things. We're very similar to a plant. So if you associate I am with energy, in layman terms, the 3D, right, and an English language term, technically the plant, an animal, a fungi, water, dirt, air, it all has energy, right? Everyone can agree on that. So that's the collective unison. So that's I am. So I am that, like this plant, I am that, I am. I'm not saying I'm a plant. I'm saying the energy in me is in that plant. Therefore, we are the same.
Yes.
That's the quantum entanglement that we're waking up to. There's no separation. It's we zoom out of the I am that, the energetics at the quantum level, which again, I'm saying it because you can't necessarily see it with our 3D lens, because we only see 1% of the spectrum. So it's a knowing, right? A knowing that the energy is all connected some way, shape, or form. So with words, you know, it's interesting. They call it a spelling bee, right? You spell words out on how you're being. So people get enthralled on all of these words and the word magic, where every single word, like you said it best, you're co-creating your reality. Yes. Why? Because each word has a vibration. Just like if I were to close my eyes and meditate, and people talk about, visualizing. Well, what are you putting out? You're putting out a vibration. You're putting out a frequency, but I can't see it. That's exactly it, because you're trying to see something that your 5 senses don't allow you to. But have you woken up to more than that? So when you speak things into existence and manifest and speak, right? Even the smallest word choice, right? If or when, for example, hey, if you do this is, why is if comfortable? Because they have a choice not to do it. When you do it, it's already done.
Yes.
They're just catching up to it. So if and when, for example, so a lot of the business I do and a lot of people I work with and coach, they say, well, hopefully if you change your mind, it'll make it happen. You just gave an option. You created a fractal, the tree, right? Yes. If can be this way or that way. When it's going to happen, when it's happening, it's already happening. So it's a matter of time, right? So just a simple word flip that I switch, and we become so unconscious because we've been programmed with school, with spelling, with English language. The English language is the most complex language on the planet. It's got over 800,000 words and millions of different acronyms. And, you know, we look at Mandarin, it's like lines, but every symbol is it's the same. Look at us, people can't even spell there. Or we're. And it's just that one letter, one apostrophe can change possession to them. It is constant word magic 24/7. And if you're not aware of it, we're constantly casting spells. And then what do? Life happens to me, cause and effect. This is just the way it is. I pulled a bad card, bad luck, bad karma. That's you just giving your power away to things outside of you. And that's just going to continue to happen over and over and over and over until you just declare it. This isn't happening anymore. I'm actually never going to do this again. And your body and everything just kind of glitches out, and then things start to being created. So that's why it's very tricky with what's the easiest way to control the world, control the information, control the money. That's the media and the financial system. You control both. You control the minds of people, and you also control the emotions of people. Once you control that, you're basically taking God, energy itself, and you're trying to put a God, a man-made God, in control, which tells you what to do, how to do it. And if you don't, well, judgment is upon you, and you're going to go not to a happy place when you pass. Therefore, live in unconscious fear of what is. Takes more power away. And that word magic traps you in that matrix completely. But it's all being broken, like you said. So, yeah, word magic is so powerful.
So many things. I love this. This is so good. It's so good. I feel called to speak to someone who's going to watch this, because I get a lot of Christians. And when I say a lot, I want to be clear with my language.
Yeah.
I get a handful.
Yeah.
And minimum one every episode on YouTube saying they're praying for my soul. I don't know Jesus. You know, the devil has me, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to refer to them is the podcast I did, Why I Left Christianity to Find the Love of God, where I came to the conclusion that I love God, and I do. I understand the concept of source. We use God. It's all interchangeable, but maybe it isn't. This is a good thought. But I do love God. And I don't care where he sends me, because I love him. And I'm going to serve him and honor him and worship him and live in him and walk in him, regardless of where he sends me at the end of the day, because he's God and I am not, in the context of this framework.
Yeah.
If I don't do anything other than what I just said, if conditional, I believe this and then he will, that's playing a deal with the most sovereign origin of all that is before that is.
Yep.
So that is actually me saying, I am God in your place. And if I can be in that place, then I can say to another who is and who is not. And when I woke up to these concepts of by or through, well, this massive difference, or, you know, a or this.
Yeah.
Religion is getting dismantled at a rapid pace, just like every other system in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But there is so much fear in what if people are wrong. And I want to encourage everyone that admitting we're wrong, or not that admitting we're wrong in our way of thinking is a virtue. It is a virtue. It is a virtue to have the humility and wisdom to say, hey, I went down this path. I checked it out. I got some things from it, but I realized I'm going to move to this path. And every car has a reverse to it. It's not all drive. You're not just grinding on drive all the time and every car is a reverse, because that is how we get from where we are to where we want to go. And so it is a virtue to reverse. It's a virtue to say, you know what? Yeah, I believe this. I was in fear, but I realized that fear, where there's love, there cannot be fear. So I was in fear. I can acknowledge, wait, I was actually lacking love. Oh, why was I lacking love? Let me zoom out. Well, what's the teaching I believe? Let me zoom out. Who told them that? Let me zoom out. What is this actual system? Oh, wait, the system is built on us not waking up to our own divinity.
Yep.
And people will say, well, New Age is satanic. New Age is the devil. The devil Satan transfigures into an angel of light, and all his prophets and all his priests transfigured into an angel of light. Then my question is, if it wasn't supposed to be, then why is it? If God is sovereign, if source, I don't know, you use source, do you think of, is your word source or universe, or how do you?
All of it, just whatever flows out. Yeah, okay. all similar.
So if God is sovereign, supreme, and God is light, and light always goes and expands and never ceases to expand.
Yes.
There's literally nothing that happens right now that isn't part of light's beautiful plan to show people That
Mm-hmm.
darkness is just a
Mm-hmm.
shadow of where we lack light.
Mm-hmm.
This is all just a game. And
Yep.
until when we wake up that this is just a game, there is no such construct. The hell is actually Hel is a Norse religion, the daughter of Zeus of the underworld, like Poseidon. It goes on and on. You look at the construct of these words.
Mm-hmm. You're all so for pretty much you're always going to be wrong and right to someone.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like they could say you're wrong. This is okay. That's totally fine because one person next to you can go, you're totally right. So it's pretty much where your intention goes, and that's what you're going to manifest and create. Another question I will ask people is, can you tell me all the glands in your body?
No.
And they go, what? You see, people tend to know more about what's outside of them than what's inside of them. So do you know what glands you have in your head? Glands? It's a pituitary gland. Have you ever heard of it? It's in you. It actually keeps you alive. What about the pineal gland? Let me help you. The story of Jacob and Peniel. You remember that in the Bible? Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh, okay. So what did Jacob climb up? The ladder. Do you remember how many spokes are on the ladder? 33. Good. How many vertebrae are in your spine? I don't know. Okay. There's 33.
Yeah.
Right? So when was Jesus crucified? How old was he? 33. Okay, what's the Freemason obsession number? I don't know. What's Freemasons? Okay. So these are the questions that you navigate them, and now it's like, what are these things I've never been told? I've only been focused on that one thing, right? And so you look at the pituitary and the pineal, and if you really break it down and you break down the cerebral spinal fluid that's in your spine, that's the river of life. The Jordan River is your cerebral spinal fluid. Pineal and pituitary is Mary and Joseph. The manger in Bethlehem, that's your breadbasket. That's your solar system. That's your gut, right? Your gut feelings and where Jesus was born. There's just so many things. Yes. And so I just tend to ask people, without triggering them, hey, do you know all this about yourself? Because it's in you.
Right.
The Bible is in you. It's an expression. Words in the Bible are translated to show what's in you, because why can't we see inside of us? Because there's something called skin. Right? So we don't look past our skin. So we go off something outside of our skin because we think it's a cause and effect law, like life happens to us. YOLO, let's hashtag it, let's make it go viral. All these other things that you've been programmed with. So you've mastered the books. You've got all the disciples and I'll ask them again, what's the third ventricle? Where's that located? What does it do? What about your atlas? Where's that located? You ever see a guy holding the world on his atlas? Your atlas is right under the seat of your soul. And it holds your cranium, your crown, your skull, that holds everything, which is your brain, which is the most complex system of energetic information in the galaxy. That's why humans are so powerful, and everyone's kind of watching planet Earth right now. Just like everyone's watching the United States in this election right now, right? Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Yep. Everyone's watching your podcast right now. Zoom out, election, zoom out, Earth, zoom out, galaxy, yes. Right? Constant dance. So when you start identifying your mechanical structure, not just a meat suit and skin and bones, but an actual like paintbrush, that sort of like, I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put 33 spines here, or 33 vertebrae. I'm going to put a cerebral spinal fluid, the CSF. I'm going to create a couple glands that can harness this energy and create energetic momentum to keep the river of life, blood, aka water, which is mentioned over 660 times in the Bible, right? Living water, holy water, but yet people who preach, for example, that Christianity and you haven't found Jesus, they have maybe a Coke on their table. Mm-hmm. I'm all about embodiment. That's why I eat what I eat. I drink what I drink. I get rid of the things. I no longer take people's power. I'm losing hate out of my life. Fear is no longer existing. These low vibrational things. So you can talk all about what you want in the Bible and religion. I'm just going to be it. I'm going to be my best version of myself. I can't put acid in my system if this is God's temple, right? Why do we have headaches on our temple? Well, because we're breaking things down. And it's a psychological warfare. So if you look at these quote unquote, the past elites, they're no longer here anymore. the things that they choreographed, and this might go completely over people's heads, for example, like 9/11, right? The Twin Towers, the Twin Temples, they break it down. The moment those fall, you succumb to fear and you have mind control over the people, right? And they took out the life path, 9/11. 9 is life path of wisdom. So they took that out of the life. 9/11, your two towers, they collapsed them. So you have no recognition or awareness to that divinity within you. So therefore, go to church, pay your tithes, do these things, which I never said anything is wrong with it.
Yeah.
Just make sure you flip the mirror sometimes, look inside of you, not physically, but also energetically, emotionally, spiritually, this energy that flows. But those are questions I ask people, and next thing you know, they have about 50 other questions. You know, then I ask them about the Phoenicians and the Essenes and the Jesuits, and who are these people? Where do they come from? It's not in the Bible. What about the book of Thomas? Why was that taken out of the Bible? Well, the book of Thomas taught people how to tap into their spirituality. Why is Matthew 6 such a powerful chapter that not many pastors talk about? Because it starts ushering in ways to connect with your higher self.
That's right.
This is what Jesus mastered, and that's what Jesus was trying to express with people.
And that's the hermeneutics where he says, whatsoever you bind in heaven shall be bound on earth. Whatsoever you loosen shall be loosened on earth. That as above, so below, as within, so without.
And the most triggering part is if you were to listen to all that, because you didn't know that prior to this moment, cognitive dissonance sparks so fast, you either shut off the podcast, you'll turn your head, or you don't want to hear it. And that's a choice. That's your choice. That is free will, and that's the unconditional love. That if that's your choice, totally. But please do not come at me telling me you're going to do this for me. You're telling me I have no relationship with something that you might not even have with yourself.
Yeah.
Right. That's an unconscious projection that sometimes I've seen religion has caused me to do, but many people to do, because it's such a thing where it is, in a weird way, it's a game of telephone.
Yeah.
You're reading something in a book that was written, quote unquote, let's say however long, 2,000 years ago.
Yep.
Look at how fast a tweet can change in a day.
Right.
Look how fast an email can get lost in the system in overnight on a FedEx tracking package.
Right.
What makes you think that from 2,000 years, every word, like you called, has been changed from where it's supposed to come from, which I don't know how many people know who wrote it, how many times it's been changed, how many books are in it, how it's been altered, how many versions, to now what it is, where simple words make you feel powerless. And if you don't act in accordance to what's said in it and what the pastor says or what your church mentions on the message handouts, you're going to go to HEL, what you just talked about. And that's unconscious fear programming. And that's not unconditional love.
That's right.
Because regardless of religious views, none of that matters, because at the end of the day, it comes back to energetics, emotion, vibration, understanding it. But it's so new, it's going to take some time for the collective to catch up to that. And it's totally fine because we're on track already. But that's just kind of my lens on all that.
Beautiful. No, it's absolutely important. I heard a quote, a friend of mine who a priest actually told him, he said, God cannot not love you. God cannot not love you. For the minute that God ceases to love, he ceases to be God, because God cannot be what he is not. He is love. So God cannot not love us.
Unconditional. So now if someone puts a condition on you that if you're not doing what they think you should do, they don't unconditionally love you. But usually when that happens, that's a lack of love within themselves. Unconditionally loving themselves, where you're beating yourself up, or you want to lose weight, or you got to look a certain way, or you got to make your wife happy. We're doing it all the time. But when it comes now all of a sudden to scripture and stuff, it's you're not doing this, you're not doing that, because I'm not doing it internally. And the other thing I was going to say is new age and old age, all that. Who said it was new? Who said it's new?
Yeah.
If you're aware of time, there's no such thing as new and old. It's just now. It's always been here. Right. It's just the now has been distorted and twisted. So when you distort and twist something, you pull it apart. And when you pull something apart, you create linear time. You condense something to the 0 point. There is no new or old. It just is. So new age, old age, again, word magic. No such thing as new age. No such thing as old age. There never was an age. We made up age. We made up linear time to keep people trapped thinking there's an old and a new that takes us out of the God, right brain, present moment reality where we are all creators. We're leaving the left brain to the right brain. And that's the corpus callosum. That's the cross, the crucifixion of Christ. It's the corpus callosum. And I'll ask people, do you know what that is? what the heck how do you spell that? Well, it's in your brain. It connects both your brain hemispheres. And they're just like, they try to see it, but they're trying so hard to see it, but it's there and you can look it up. And there's that thin little bridge that connects. It's like you have this giant forest, right? And if you really zoom out, you just see a little stream that connects one forest to another, right? But when you zoom out, you can't see it. But when you get closer, there it is. It's a little river. That crossing, right, down the middle, down the brain hemisphere, the crossing from the left to the right brain, man-made God to infinite source, is the cross. That's where you go and meet yourself at pineal and pituitary, Mary and Joseph. You crucify yourself, you have your awakening, you realize that Christ is in you, God is in you, Mary and Joseph are in you, the 12 disciples are in you, all of the Jordan River, the 33, the Jacob's ladder, all the Bible verses, all the stories is in you. Boom, left and right brain sync up, divine creator mode, and you now can choose when you want to go to the right brain to create feminine energy, magnetism, or if you want to stay stuck in a lower, not lower, I don't like to say lower or higher, but a condensed or expansion, right? Condense, expand is scalar, the magnetic. The left brain, that's the man-made, the matrix, the ego, the comparison, the religion, the constructs, the fear. Yeah. If you don't, then this will. All word magic, all program, all spells that they knew from ancient times, hijacked it, created the matrix, and here we are breaking it. So we're going to the right brain. When you go to the right brain, that's when you start time traveling. That's when the vacuum goes to 0 point. People have no idea it's happening. They're not choosing it, but they're seeing numbers. They're seeing 1111. Yeah. They're having voices in their head. They're thinking of someone, then they text. They're in the right brain. They have no idea they're there. Until you consciously become aware. Now you can go back and forth, and now you can do whatever you want.
That is so cool. That is so, and just to bring this home on scripture, Jesus said, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself, his ego, take up his cross and follow me. He carried his, he went to his, we go to ours because we have ours. And it's that awakening within. It's the ascension within.
Mm-hmm. The resurrection. Yep.
So here's something that I find interesting because I'm always playing with numbers and time and words and those stuff. The book, The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth. The author is, oh shoot, I forget it. Oh, John Allegro. John Allegro wrote, so he was the only non-religious person on the board of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Every other person on the board of the Dead Sea Scrolls who had access, all the most brilliant minds, translators, were all Anglican of the Church of England or Roman Catholic. He was the only agnostic, and he wasn't. And so I'm reading this book, and there's no energy negative. He's just breaking it down, and he's the only person to this day to publish what the Dead Sea Scrolls said and showed.
Wow.
Because it eviscerates not just timeline, but even this word Jesus is a funny word because Jesus means Jesus, hail Zeus. The Jesus of the Dead Sea Scrolls was the leader of the Essenes, the Gnostics, the healers.
There you go.
The Essenes are only mentioned one time in the New Testament.
Yep.
And the Pharisees who were in after the Maccabee revolt. So the Maccabees, Judah Maccabee, threw out the Hellenistic Jews at the temple where you get Hanukkah, where the oil lasts. But 2 generations later, they were back in the power system was back with Rome. So they made allegiance with Rome. Well, the Essenes were part of the Gnostic awakening all over the world. The leader of the Essenes was Yeshua, which the English version of Yeshua is Joshua. So I'm talking to people. I said, do you know any person with 2 English names like my name's Lucas, but my name's not also Derek and, having whatever the Hebrew name would be. His name was Yeshua. And they taught his name's Joshua. And he was an old man when he was crucified. They did crucify him. But he was crucified in 88 BC. What Rome did, according to this book, is they taught who could who could administer the healings, these great Gnostic knowings of how to heal, how to raise people from the dead, how to move matter, how to make people see again. And you had to be between 40 years and 70 years old. So what they did was, at the destruction of the temple, at 70 AD, they backed it up to 0 was the year they crucified him. So they changed the time to make it 0, even though he had already been dead for 12 years.
Wow.
So then you take, I was doing this, stay with me, and you got good stuff on this. 2,000 years from 88 BC takes us to 1988. 33 years from 1988 takes us to 2021. So we are entering literally the conscious ascension, 2,033 years from when the teacher, the greatest teacher of the Gnostic, loving thy neighbor and what God, the ascension of God can be within to liberate all peoples. We are coming to the manifestation in year 2021. We just entered year 5781 in the Hebrew calendar. I was talking to a rabbi earlier today. He said he just found that this old Kabbalah rabbi wrote in 5780 will be a very bad year, which is the year we just left halfway through. The new year starts, Rosh Hashanah starts the new year. So we just entered 5781. He said 5781 will be a very good year.
Wow.
This was written hundreds of years ago.
Wow.
All time, all convergence is, you're back to that. I'm all bringing this back to affirm the convergence zone. It's incredible. And it's so fun. And I think then this leads us into
It's interesting.
It is so fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I was born in '89, so that's interesting in itself. And I'm 31. I'm going to be 33 in 2 years. And yeah, just the timelines. Again, you expand and contract and expand and contract because it can change and morph so much. But again, all of that is a construct of the present moment. It's just, again, it's ways to identify subjectivity for people to understand and actually, in the left brain comprehend logistics. Like a lot of people are very right brain, but we've been programmed to be left brain. So to help people get back to their original state of being, right, to the right brain, the God brain, the infinite mind, the universe, you've kind of got, that's why I really do resonate with words and timelines and dates, even though I know it's all constructs, but sometimes you got to meet the construct where the construct is at, right? You can't just go up to a construction site of a concrete construction site with a saw. It doesn't make sense. You're trying to saw away at concrete. You got to come with a hammer, right? Just like you won't come to a hammer with a bunch of wood logs that need to be sawed. So you got to meet kind of the parameter people are at to help them segue. And that's a great way to put it, of just like, there's another like the Kali Yuga cycles, the ebbs and the flows. So the Kali Yuga it really is showing that we're entering this, this golden age of enlightenment, of information and awareness. And the last time this truly happened was, anywhere, there's some people say 26,500 years ago, or when Christ 2,000 years ago. But again, those are all constructs. So you help them meet them where they're at. It never was. It's just source constantly has the ebb and the flow. It has the masculine and feminine. It has the electric, magnetic, the positive, the negative, what is within, without. There's nothing that becomes if it's just one thing. It's just got that polarity. It's got the balance and the reflection, so it always can dance with itself. And that's why we go through these dark times like we have just in the last 50 years, which is a blink of the eye, right, of the timeline of Earth. And now we're coming out of it, right? That's my brain come out better from it. I know it's taking out of the present, but zoom out, we're coming out of that vacuum 0 point into everything that's about to be unleashed. All the crimes going to be, everything's going to happen, but methodically and slow. And you said at the beginning, we are here to find the balance. There had to be that tipping point, right? We're in the Libra season. So we were over balanced on the darkness. Some light workers, the hippies, the Reiki, the crystal people, the weirdos, they, oh my gosh, they were holding the frequency for so long. Some people their whole life and no one even notices. But now it's like more are waking up to natural stuff, to nature, to grounding, to wearing a crystal, to like actually meditating, and you're balancing. Once the scales are balanced, 0 point. You have the 0 point where now source can actually pop out of the vacuum consciously in all of us. And we are here to kind of not catch people, but be next to them, by them, where they don't have to go through us. I never want people to learn through me. I tell people, I want you to learn yourself. I'm going to give you some breadcrumbs because at the end of the day, you choose what's right is wrong. I give people that free will. I give people that power.
Yeah.
Where today it's very easy to have the spiritual ego or the guru aspect of, hey, I've been doing this longer than you. Just trust me. Believe. It's like, whoa, that sounds like mainstream media.
Yep, that's
that
right.
That sounds like politics.
But I just left from the church or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
The exact same thing. So anyways, just giving people that power back. It's the most empowering thing. And once people build that energy within them, oh my gosh, that's what Q is really the term itself, right? Just the letter Q, such an abstract letter. What goes with it? Not too much, except the word quantum, which no one even knows what that is. And it's too much for them. But it's such an abstract letter. And then you have the number 17, and people think it's like a movement. People think it's like a computer program. People think it's this and that. It's actually none of it.
Right.
It's what you make it.
Yep.
And that's triggering to people because what you make it means you're creating it.
Yep.
And that's the quantum world that we get to kind of pop in and out of. So it's fascinating when people have these kind of rejections to it, and then you break it down in that sense. They kind of got to integrate it. They got to understand it, not understand, understand. And then they get curious because their higher self is just going like this. It's like just waiting for you to kind of tap into your own quantum computer in yourself. Everything you see is within you, and then boom, boom, boom. And so waves by waves by waves, and people say Q's a psyop, Q's this, that, and this. I could sit here for 5 hours and tell you how it couldn't be. We're at a point now, but that's just no need to do that. That's people's free will and choice. You can't waste your time spending on exerting that. But yeah, it's pretty amazing the time we're in.
It's amazing. And, with Q, that's what I want to share. It's not anyone that's rejection to Q. It's not Q that you have a rejection. It's not. The media created QAnon, that term QAnon. That's a media made Romanistic, label it, judge it, discard it because it's not part of our approved narrative for your mind control system. But Q, to question.
Yes.
The only way we can get answers is if we question, but we are not taught the Socratic method. We are not taught to question and how to think. We are taught what to think. And so we are constantly there's 5 questions to make a story. Who, what, when, where, why.
Yep.
Who, what, when, where engage the mind. The only question that engages the heart is the question why. That's why we are programmed as little children. We are created. We're not programmed by the system. We are divinely created to ask why, because our heart wants to expand wide open. But kids that ask why, parents get frustrated. And I mean, even knowing this, there are some times where my son will ask, he's a proponent of why. And I'm like, I have to calm down because I don't shut his why down. I honor it. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Okay, this is why. There are some times when I say to do something that will save your life that you cannot hesitate in just doing what I say. And there are some times when I say to do something that you can ask me, I'll let you know. If I say it, and this is what I'm talking to my 6-year-old, and he's like, okay, if I tell you to get out of the street, you don't say why, because I see the car coming. And it's also the very same thing if I could go on. Why engages the heart?
Wow.
So
love it.
Rome uses who, what, when, where. So who, you give it a label, QAnon. What? They're conspiracy theorists. Where? The internet.
Oh, wow.
When? Talking about all these conspiracies. Do they ever talk about why?
Wow.
Never talk about why. Well, why don't they talk about why? Because when you start to look at first of all, why are people talking about this? Why is this catching like wildfire? Why is the entire world woken up more than the United States? And the world is looking at Ottawa, 1 million people in Berlin, London, Australia, all over the world. People are crying out. Hong Kong, they're more American in Hong Kong than San Franciscoites or whatever they call themselves are in San Francisco. I mean, it is incredible. The world is woken up. America's the last one to wake up. Because we have been stripped of why. Now, if I you love water. You, in fact, I look at you as like, you have such a unique prophetic, not prophetic in the future sense, but like a prophet tells the truth. That's, and the same guy that said that the priest said, God cannot not love you. He told me, he said, kings love prophets, but priests hate prophets because the priests get everyone looking at them, what they can do, but kings need prophets to come tell them the truth.
Wow.
Tell me the truth, prophet. Tell me the truth. And the prophet will say, this is what it is. And you talking about water, I just look at you, brother, as this beautiful prophet king about water. So I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Wow.
So we have Y, you have Q. And what I say is, forget all this narrative. If I give you a pure glass of water and you are thirsty, you're so thirsty, you could look at yourself and you're not happy with how you feel. You're frustrated. You're on medications to just balance your, quote unquote, balance yourself out. You're overweight, you're stressed. You can't sleep well. You're frustrated in your relationship. Okay. So you're not happy. And let's just call that thirsty. You're thirsty. And I give you a glass of water and it's pure. It's beautiful. The rainbow is in it. I give it to you. But I just put a little bit of urine. I just take a leak, just a little leak. I just not a lot.
Yeah.
Just a little dribble. I know this is gross, but that ruined the entire glass. And what we have accepted for so long is water with urine, being told that it's clean water. And we know it's not by the way we feel.
Yeah.
Here, question comes in the form of Q. Question everything. Question why is this? Why is that? Why are the same families with the same names running the same governmental systems for how much longer? Do you want it to be forever? Are you just okay with it? Why not just make it indefinite? Oh, wait, you don't like that? Well, why? Why don't you like that? So Q comes in and questions everything. And that is when the awakening, because people know in their heart of hearts, something's not right.
Yep.
And the Q source, there's a Q gospel 2,000 years ago. One of the Gnostic texts is called the Q source. Q has existed in every age. Q is not just this digital.
Yep.
Q is divinity revealing itself to awaken humanity. And I am so thankful for Q. I have to say, when I found Q, being in the news, coming from journalism, understanding who these journalists are, I have friends on national, I know them and they're good people. They're sweet. But I screen capped a friend of mine who's a major anchor in a big market, loving Hillary Clinton's latest post. This is not journalism. You cannot call yourself a journalist if you're adoring a political figure. That's not journalism.
You got to be in the 0 point.
You got to be zero if you're a journalist. So no, we don't have journalism. We have propaganda. We don't have pure water. We have urinated, filtered, dirty water, and we're wondering why we're not clean. Our pipes are clogged.
Yeah.
So Q is the greatest gift, just to question again. And thinking about the left brain, we can't know light without darkness. We can't actually know health without pain, because without that's why I think we're here. God, source, created contrast to know itself, to say, oh, this is me. I'm amazing. I love myself, and creates this contrast. So our left brain, this is interesting. I've never heard it put the way you did, but I love it. When we are told we're just the left brain, we're trapped. But we wouldn't appreciate the right brain without the constructs of the left brain.
Yes.
It's like, oh, this is freedom. Oh, this was roadways, and this right brain is the earth.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm just going on.
That was great. That's so good. So many nuggets, like the why, and you talk about questions. When people think questions, they think being in school, raising your hand. And if you have trauma to questioning things, like your teacher told you that's a bad question, or your friends made fun of you, you carry that over for the rest of your life. Here you are at 30 trying to question something that you've been thought to be true. All you do is go back to little Johnny telling, put your hand down. Don't question.
Yeah.
And that's traumatizing, completely traumatizing. So the education system, that's why it's all about the children. right? That's a completely
That's
just
right.
hours in itself, but it's all about children because that is the future, even though the now is the present moment. But the children, if you can hijack the children, whether it's through vaccinations or fluoride in water or GMO baby food or toxic chemical cleaners or diapers, and then, but then it also came from the mom and dad passing it down genetically. So it was a complete system hijacked about children, because if you take that away, what's there to question anymore? Because you've already got those questioning people to be programmed, right? And then to have that limitation of that left brain. But when you keep asking why, we actually make it like a joke. Like we play like a meme, like why,
Right.
why, why? And it's like a joke that goes viral on Twitter.
Yeah.
The kid that doesn't shut up asking why.
Yeah.
But what are we asking? What is that we're actually asking? And I love that analogy with the hands. That's amazing. And that's such a good point. And another thing, me and my partner kind of downloaded, whatever you want to call it. People are so asphyxiated with the messenger and not the message.
Yes.
That's it. Like the QAnon thing is the quote unquote messenger that people say is a cult, is evil, it's awful.
Right.
But just stop there. Look at the message. Why is it sharing that?
Right.
If it's not real, why is it sharing that if it's a cult when it's trying to save children from, pedophilia?
Right. To stop bad people.
To stop bad people from doing bad
things. Yes.
Right? Because I always tell people, if it is fake, which it is not, great. Then none of that's happening. So why is everything so shitty?
Exactly right.
Why is everything so bad? If you really don't think anything these conspiracy theories is real, why is there a pandemic? Why is the whole world in war? Why is there poverty? Why is there cancer and disease?
Yeah.
Why is there lack? Why is there fear, anger, and hate? Why is there chemicals in the sky and the air and the water? Why is all of that? If all these things that we're saying is actually a cult or fake or phony.
Right.
That then puts people in a different mode of, they can't really think, but they just went into the right brain. Because the left brain is thinking, right brain is knowing and understanding and remembering. Like, wait a minute, this makes sense. People say that makes sense. Wait a minute, that rings a bell. They just remember. They're remembering something they've already heard before.
Remembering is our members being back connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You have Ra, the sun got Ra member. So sun, the sun source helps you become that member. You remember that. But when a lot of people's awakenings, they're just remembering, like, wait a minute. I feel like I've heard this before, because they have. Whether you believe in past lives or not, that's a whole conversation, but it's in your DNA. The DNA in you is passed from your mom, from her grandma, from her great grandma. It's continuous. It's a connective chain of information. So the DNA inside of you was the DNA inside of someone who's been here for thousands and thousands of years ago. It's still in you. Everything is. And you trace it all the way back, that game of telephone. Follow the money, we'll follow the DNA. Where's the starting point of it? People don't even know what DNA is, or that it's held in water. So if you're dehydrated, your DNA starts to crumble, it doesn't spiral, and you can't read your DNA. So what do you rely on? Reading the mainstream media. We pay for an intuition to go to school, but we forget our own intuition within ourselves. That's another great one, that really connects. But getting back to the Q thing, it's pausing for clarity, detach from the messenger. What's the biggest one? Trump, triggering the most out of people. Okay, throw away Orange Man bad, throw away his other stuff, is whatever you think that the media told you. Just look what he's saying. Why does he say these things? There's got to be, he's not just doing it to do it. Right. Like, just look at the message. And it's not one time, over and over. And he was actually tweeting this stuff before he even got elected. You could look back in 2012.
Yeah, 2012.
2011, 2014. Like, he already knew, because he knows, because again, there's different dimensions to our reality, a different dimension. It's a 5D chess game. So here in the 3D world, meeting the concrete with a hammer, not a saw, right? Yep. You've got to now portray Q as this and that, because that's something that at least 3D understanding, comprehension can actually believe. Because once they see how dark it is, even though they resist it, it helps when the light does shine upon it. Because what's, for an example, predictive programming, movies, television, songs, it tells you over and over, so when it does happen, you're not surprised. So what the media is doing, it's telling people over and over, so when it does come out to light, it's not a surprise. It's actually doing people a favor, if you think of it that way. You can flip it. There's always a polarity. So one side sees an iceberg upside down,
Yeah.
which is massive, this cult is going to craziness. Underneath it is a little tip of the iceberg, but once you flip it, people only see that tip and they don't see the whole iceberg below the surface.
Wow.
So what the media is doing, it's flipping the iceberg for us. So we're actually getting a glimpse of it first in the media, the collective.
Yeah.
They're triggering pop awakenings, whether they want people to believe. The fact that word magic, that we're talking about it, means that something is manifesting behind it.
Yes.
Because it's all in balance. So as I honestly, I love all the cues of psyop and conspiracy because they're talking about it. They're listening to it. So when it does come out, not if, when, just a matter of when we collectively agree to it enough, right? Now it's like, I just got prepared for that for months. And I watched a few documentaries. I didn't want to believe, but now I am, because now I'm getting that biofeedback. Yep. That's the left brain consumer reflection that allows people to go, oh, that makes sense. But really, they're just reading their DNA, which has been distorted.
That's so cool. Oh,
it's fun.
It is fun. It's fun.
It is. And here we are. You're in your office. I'm in mine. We never even left. But we completely went into all kinds of timelines.
Yeah.
It's time travel, right? It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. One, I know we gotta wrap here in a sec, but just enjoy talking with you. So this is fun.
Yeah.
Q has always said future proves past. Mm-hmm. So the other day I flipped the post and I printed out posts 1 through 80 and I'm reading through it and I'm like, holy cow, it's reversed timeline. Mm-hmm. We are walking towards post 1. We're on post 4,754, but we're walking towards post 1. Future proves past. They told us in the past, it's proving the future and vice versa. It's incredible. But time, who are we to say things don't exist? How can any human say, talk about ego, talk about totally out of it. And there's so many things, just what the knowledge you dropped about all the Gnosticism of knowing oneself and all that's in the body and all the how it connects and hermeneutics and all the connection and the religions and the words and all these things. Who are people? How can people say, oh, I don't believe that? Come on, let's question, let's learn together. And if there is urine in the water, let's pour it out and let's go seek pure mountain fresh crystal spring water. Because you, out of anyone, knows once you taste that, you're never going back. You're never going back.
No, that's such a good point. That's such a good point. And the future proves past. Yeah, understanding that. But it again, the reason why I think a lot of people don't want to accept it or realize it is because they have to admit to themselves that they've been lied to their whole life. And that's going to depress a lot of people. If you think about it, if you're 30, 40, 50 years old and you're waking up to this stuff and you reflect back on your whole life, and you can go through college, you can go through school, through your first job, when you got your first check, when you got sick, and you started looking at, oh my gosh, I was told to take this to help with that, but in reality, that's poison. Oh my gosh, I was told to believe that in the history book, but in reality, that's all fake. Oh my gosh, I was told to believe that teacher, but in reality, he's a pedophile or something. It's just like you look back, you leave the present moment, you get depressed, and that's hard, and people don't want to do that, and that's the inner work. But that's where, on the other side, those that have done that inner work can be there to help guide them, not do it for them, but like give breadcrumbs, give some calls to actions. Here, try this water. It might help. It helped for me. Maybe it helps you. Instead of you have to do this, you have to do that. If you don't, you can't wake up. No. That's just another lens of that ego that creeps up over time. So here we are here helping people usher it in. But when you hear this information, your comfort level, people want to be America, right? Consumerism and comfort. How many people go, oh, it's too much for me. I just want to chill at home. I got my beer, I got my pizza, I got my sports, which aren't the same and aren't going to ever be the same. And they're in that comfort. They don't want to go there because they'll leave their comfort zone, right? They don't want to leave the kid pool because to jump in the deep end, you got to learn how to swim. You got to make sure you got floaties on. You got to maybe check the water temperature. You got to jump into the unknown. You don't know how deep it is. Nobody wants to do that. But Source locked down all of us in our homes with this virus that is orchestrated, divine, 3D, 4D, 5D, whatever dimension, to have us go inward, to literally remember that we have a pineal gland and a pituitary gland and 33 vertebrae and our heart that actually controls more than our mind, and to do all these things that we actually were taught and programmed to think was outside of us and away from us, right? So there's just so many amazing things that are happening, but it's going to be a transition. These next few years, let alone, are going to be the biggest in humanity, but you're going to usher in, free energy, all this kind of all these patents released, these cures, the new financial system. There's so much, there's just so much
with it all, with all these particulars, because so many people have had cognitive dissonance, because so many people will have to enter this phase of mourning, seeing what was done while we all thought we were awake and
right.
woke in the light. But also people will mourn because they believed a lie.
Yep.
What better way for unconditional love to just wash everyone? Just wash everyone. Everyone is going to receive love like no mind can fathom. And it's at that place where we're all just like this, just this, just here.
That's it.
This is it.
That's the magnetic energy that's going to blanket, not control. Electrical is piercing and like a current. Magnetic is a blanket where it just falls down on us. And that's cool. That's the return of Christ. That's Christ conscious. That's the blanket that's being engulfed.
Yes.
Kind of like a new layer on top of a rigid matrix metal left brain system that's very straight edge, but this is going to be hexagonal, multidimensional plasma. Just again, zoom out, like you're in space looking at this earth plane, whatever you want to make it, and it's just blanketing. And people can keep running from it, but eventually they'll run into a hug.
That's so good. Oh, hug from God. I love that.
That's it. That's me and you, and that's everyone, because God is within us. So there you love thy neighbor as yourself, because you are the same. I am that I am.
That's right.
There you go.
Brother, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Where can people find you, follow you, and connect with you?
Yeah, at Come Out Better. That's the number one on Instagram. Just all one word. Send me a message, connect with me there. I'm putting together my websites. I got a YouTube channel, but I'm uploading stuff. Eventually I'll have a podcast too, but follow this podcast at Come Out Better and Lucas Mack, and just all of it included. But that's the number one way to check me out of what I got going on. I share a lot, so keep up and take what you want and then run with it.
And go listen to our first episode together, which I'll put in the show notes as well, because that was awesome too, brother.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stay hydrated. That's another thing. If you're watching this, go grab your water, stay hydrated, ground, breathe. Just, come back to yourself and just remember everything's got to flip. Everything has that polarity. The darkest lows are the highest highs, and meet yourself where you're at. Just meet yourself in the present moment. And so it is.
Brother Chris, thank you for coming on, and everyone, thank you for listening. What'd you think? That's a lot of information. He is a well of knowledge and wisdom. And so make sure you follow Come Out Better on Instagram, Chris O'Brien. And Brother Chris, thank you. Thank you for holding that conversation. I was pretty tired, but man, I was able to sit back and just listen to you. And it was so beautiful. Oh, brothers and sisters all around the world, in every country, I see the countries that you listen from, and I bless you all with the highest love, the highest good, and this encouragement to continually drop your armor, drop your walls, look at the facade, look at where your tight jaw, look at where you are bracing fear as opposed to releasing all fear and receiving love. May you take the wisdom of the tree today, brothers and sisters, to stand firmly planted into this earth, arms open wide, releasing all that no longer serves you and receiving all that is the highest good for you, without fear, without judgment, without worry. Be in love today, brothers and sisters. Walk in love. Call forth love. Say out loud, love, fill me. Love, surround me. Love, anoint me. Love, hold me. You can say whatever it is you want and need to say. You have every right as a sovereign being on this planet to speak forth that which you want to see come to fruition. That is your right. That is your gift. And that is your blessing, because when you do that for yourself, you become permission for other people to do that for themselves. This whole game that we're in is just to learn how to be free. And so we become a contrast and an example for others who are yet to be free or are yet freed to see, oh, there is freedom. There's freedom in love. There is hope in love. There is joy in love. There is light in love. So walk in that today, brothers and sisters. I bless you. Thank you. Get ready for more episodes. I am Lucas Mack. This is the Golden Rule Revolution. Thank you for watching. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for listening. For support in your journey, go to my website, lucasmack.com.